Yes, that was Nimr Abu Nassar. Welcome, Nimr. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, and sorry for not warning you of the censor.
It's okay. Sometimes you have to kind of play with these things. You've previously described Lebanon as the Middle East's battlefield.
Yeah.
So when people come to you and say, I don't want to stay here, I want to leave, there are more opportunities abroad, and you're somebody who's making it happen here, what do you say to them?
Well, I mean, why do you want to leave? If the reason is that there are no opportunities, then that's not a valid reason, because there are opportunities. In fact, some might argue that because there's war, there's even more opportunity than other places. But that being besides the fact, if you want to leave because you feel that you have a better path for yourself outside, then leave. There's nothing wrong in leaving the country. It's not like it's you're some kind of scumbag. Everybody has to choose their way in life. But if your reason for leaving is there is no opportunity and you haven't really tried, I kind of tell them, well, you know what, you should give it a shot. Because in my experience, having lived everywhere, outside, not everywhere, obviously, but I mean many places outside the country, which a lot of people who leave try to go to,
right.
I prefer it here. So if somebody asks my opinion, I tell them, you're crazy if you want to leave.
Right, but you know, here it's unstable. It's
True.
Constantly in the news.
Very true.
A lot of people don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, whether it's people being kidnapped or politicians or no government.
True.
So again,
so
you're
why
somebody.
stay?
Why stay?
Because if you know, everybody says this. If you can make it in Lebanon, your quality of life, despite all of that, is still infinitely better than outside of the country. You might need to travel to compare it, but I mean, you lived outside of Lebanon.
I did, and I know you did as well. I was in the States, and I know you were in the States as well. And
you were in New York.
I was in New York. You returned in 1993,
yeah.
So 20 years this year.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed, so you've seen it go through
years.
ups and downs. But you're
Pretty
still
much
here,
downs.
and you made it happen. And I remember your journey. You were a broker first,
True.
And then eventually you turned to stand-up comedy because you thought having a sense of humor was the best way to deal with things.
Well, I actually genuinely believe that stand-up comedy will be the saving grace for the entire Middle East. A lot of people call me naive for saying that. But,
why do you think that?
Well, because it has everything that we need in one art form. It has humility, it has nobility, and it has, at the end of the day, speaking skills. I mean, those are three things that I think Arabs lack the most. We do not have speaking skills, we have screaming skills. We do not have humility. We have a lot of ego problems, which cause a lot of the political problems we have in this country. And I think stand-up comedy kind of shows how you can express yourself, get a point across, and win over people in an argument that they may not have agreed with you prior, or at least get them to listen in a fun and enthusiastic way. When I can fill up a room of people, no matter what their political, religious, or any kind of background they have them all sit next to each other and enjoy a good laugh, that's making a big difference that no other medium can. Stand-up comedian called Bill Hicks, one of the greatest comedians of all time, one of my favorites. He's most famous. One of his most famous sayings was, stand-up comedians are the only people that people pay money to hear them talk. Politicians and religious speakers, they do it for free, and they're literally begging people to come in and fill up the rooms, and they pay money to bring people. But stand-up comedians are the only people that people give them money and say, make me listen. That's what Bill Hicks said. And that is the power of stand-up comedy. If you can fill up a room that way, there's something, and when I mean room, I mean thousands of people. There's something big there.
Speaking of power of stand-up comedy, a lot of the comedy shows that you've done, and you've pioneered a lot of those different shows, a lot of the profits do not go to you. They've gone to a couple of charities. I know you've worked with the Children's Cancer Center, and you've worked with Enfants pour Lumière.
Yeah.
Or is it Lumière pour Enfants?
Enfants du Lumière.
Enfants
don't
du
worry,
Lumière.
I'm horrible.
The Children of Light. We're all trilingual here, so we're going to swing it.
I'm good with you, don't worry.
So a lot of these charity works that you do, so it's also for good causes a lot of the time. Well, I know you don't do it just for that, but...
No, I don't. Obviously, I have to survive as well, but I mean, it's every time that I can, and I love to collaborate. I do a lot more behind the scenes as well. I think my first show was for the Children's Cancer Center of Lebanon because I needed to set the tone to tell people that stand-up comedy can be a massive benefactor for social change. And not just by making money, but also by spreading awareness about certain causes and showing people how to come together. I mean, when I did the Children's Cancer Center of Lebanon benefit, I did a tour across all the universities in Lebanon. I refused to go into any university under one club's name. I actually made it a mandate for all the clubs to come together and host me, meaning you were bringing political clubs of different backgrounds together for the first time, which resulted in the biggest shows in universities such as NDU, AUB, and not LAU, where the show was canceled.
Why was the show canceled
Well,
there?
because, and people know me to be the one who says what needs to be said, LAU has a highly politicized and fragmented administration.
Okay.
And they basically kind of they didn't really relent or try to bring the students together. I was shocked to find a lot of, at the time, friction from the from the administration to not make it happen because they were with one political side or another. So it's efforts like these that work on destroying barriers.
Speaking of friction, 2 weeks ago, you received an award for Best Stand-Up Comedian at the For Lebanon Award ceremony and caused much controversy when you took the stage to give your thank you speech. We have a clip right here.
The media industry in this country, which has proven time and time again that it is not up to the occasion to try and help people like us who are struggling. Yes, we speak English. Yes, we sing in English. But we entertain in Arabic. We entertain our people. I was in the U.S. I chose to come back. And I choose not to leave because if we don't sacrifice, who is going to make this country better?
You said the media was not up to the standard.
No.
And you also have boycotted the media until today.
This is a long stance.
Until today.
Well, I mean, I'm still boycotting media. I'm making an exception, not for FutureTV. I'm making an exception for Yumna Naufal. For you.
But we're going to talk about why. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, don't appreciate it. I appreciate your work.
Why boycott the media? What is it that you are expecting from the media that you're not getting in Lebanon?
Nothing. What are they going to do? Change? They can't. They're defunct, and it's failed, and it's over.
But
what I'm trying to do is make sure that I can send a message that it's okay to stand for something. I mean, as an artist, I'm technically shooting myself in the foot by saying, shove it media.
Okay, what's the solution, right? So here you are.
There is no solution. The solution is an alternative media.
Right.
YouTube, internet, social networking.
Which is what you're using right now.
Which is what I'm
using.
Your work. I would have loved to. I've worked for years with Lebanese media, for years, intimately with the top brass in many media stations and TV stations to try to make a change. And I concluded that it's not their fault. They're not evil, conniving bastards who want to... No, they just don't know any better. We're at a junction right now in this country where you have a cultural divide between a generation that is highly educated, highly motivated, and passionate, and a generation that is in the right place at the right time, but they're the wrong people for there.
Do you think that what you're doing, and you are kind of pioneering, and you're a trailblazer, you're setting the way for a lot of people who are your age, perhaps a little younger, who think, well, it's a bad country, we want to leave, we don't know if we can make it happen here. So basically, you know that you're setting this way, you know you're basically opening doors for them.
True.
And and YouTube today and social media is maybe the next step, right, as opposed to like television and print.
Listen, Yumna, I wouldn't be here today if people didn't open the door for me. If people didn't support me and stand by me and buy tickets to my shows, and I wouldn't be here today. It's my duty, it's my obligation to repay them by being an honest person who shows them that there are other ways if you want to do something. It's my job to find a way. When I'm using social media and I'm sacrificing my career and the shortcuts I could take to make a quick buck, making less money, but to stand for something and show them that with time, with a long-term strategy, change can happen, that's what I think people respect me for. In our country, and you know this, long-term thinking in the whole region is practically, there's no chance for it because there's no such thing.
And
so it's a different approach.
Right. I do want to point out, though, that and this is true for a lot of people, through your career here, and although you're just you're still in the beginning, you're still going up, there's still so much more for Nimit Abu Nassar. There are a lot of different projects that you came up with that have not come to fruition. I know about Take Entertainment Back
failed.
And I know a lot of people are quick to judge you and be like, well, there you go, this is not working. But don't they understand, don't you think you need to show that even though there are failures, at the end of the day, it's long-term goals as opposed to short-term goals in terms of...
the only way to... A lot of we're famous in this region for speaking big words. I'm not that kind of guy. I like to do something and take a risk. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I keep trying. I don't give up. Take Entertainment Back is a vision I have for my entire life. And it was just kind of putting it through. It failed completely in the approach that I had. And I'm not afraid to admit that. And I wrote it on the top comment on the video that it failed. And, you know, when you admit failure, the question is, do you sit down and go, oh, that sucks, I tried, I'm going to go bounce to the U.S.? No. You say, that didn't work, the goal is still the same, and now I'm taking a different approach. And that's what I'm doing with my YouTube channel, with my weekly series and stuff like that.
What is next for Nimit Abu Nassar?
Stripping. I'm going to become...
That's great. That's sweet. This is why this is memorable, ladies and gentlemen. This is why this is memorable.
What's next for me, Yumna, is to continue doing quality content on a long-term basis and to meet and get to know people like yourself who try to make a difference in a very defunct system. You know what I'm saying? You might look at yourself as simply a a person who's got, I don't know how you look at yourself. I haven't actually really had
in
time
the
to
mirror.
get to know it.
That's how they do it, right? We look at ourselves
excellent.
in the mirror. That's how I do it every day, every morning, before we go on air. But I just want, thank you so much.
I like how
you really
I know you're trying to keep the focus on me, but I do want to take a second to say one thing.
Okay.
You're doing a show in English. I know how difficult that is to be and to maintain a level of professionalism. I just want to say for the fact of the matter that you have a level of professionalism that is head and shoulders above anybody else I've dealt with here besides Marcel Ghanem on LBC. So what I'm trying to say quite simply is that I came here today because I like you, I think you have integrity, and a lot of people could learn from you no matter what language you're speaking.
Okay, thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. We just want to say that Nimr Abu Nassar will be live at DRM, and for reservations, you can call the number on our screen, 700-332. That was comedian Nimr Abu Nassar with us. Thank you so much for being here.
You.
Back to you, Linda.
Thank you, Yumna. And coming up next, today is Father's Day, and wait to see what U.S. President Barack Obama has to say after the break. Welcome back. Maronite Patriarch Bashar al-Ra'i has slammed both the March 8 and 14 alliances for tarnishing Lebanon's image and paralyzing state institutions, in addition to shoving the country in serious crisis. In a harshly worded sermon at Our Lady of Lebanon Basilica in Harissa, Ra'i has called for national reconciliation among politicians, and mainly the March 8 and 14 alliances that have tarnished Lebanon's image. The Patriarch also accused the two foes of preventing the parliamentary elections from taking place and paralyzing the formation of a new, strong and capable government that should be able to confront the economic crisis and the security chaos. President Michel Sleiman has stated that the Parliament's Council mandate prolongation is unacceptable. Sleiman considers the mandate extension was previously planned and hopes the Constitutional Council will approve his appeal in this regard. Sleiman's words came during the inauguration of the first phase of the Horizon Tourism Project along the Haboub Jbeil Highway. The president stressed that no party is capable of forcing him into changing his stance on sovereign and national issues. And now for news around the world in brief. Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has announced that his country is cutting off diplomatic relations with Syria and orders that Damascus embassy in Cairo be closed. Morsi said his government is also withdrawing the Egyptian chargé d'affaires from Damascus. He also called on Lebanon's Hezbollah armed group to leave Syria, where the group has been fighting alongside troops loyal to President Bashar al-Assad against the rebel forces. Riot police have fired tear gas and water cannon at protesters in Istanbul's Taksim Square and Gezi Park, dispersing them just hours after Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan has issued a decline for those occupying the park to leave or face eviction. Residents in surrounding neighborhoods took to their balconies, leaned out of their windows banging pots and pans, while car drivers sounded their horns in support of the protesters. Several people were brought out of the park on stretchers as ambulances waited to receive them. Moderate cleric Hassan Rouhani has called his defeat of conservative hardliners a victory of moderation over extremism and pledged a new tone of respect in international affairs. Witnesses say thousands of Iranians poured onto the streets in celebration of the victory on Saturday, chanting, "Long live reform, long live Rouhani." Rouhani will take up the presidency in August. Speaking about the importance of on Father's Day weekend, U.S. President Barack Obama says he wished his own father had been more involved in his life while he was growing up. The president said his father's absence during his developmental years helped him to appreciate the importance of his role as dad in his own family. "There's one thing I've learned along the way," Obama said, "it's that all our personal successes shine a little less brightly if we fail at family."